Man, what an amazing show this was. It's really deserving of a good analysis video. In fact, that's what my new video is going to be about. Not about My Hero Academia like everybody else. See, I don't talk about shows just because they're popular. Now and then, here and there. Now, what specifically am I going to talk about? Wait a minute. Where did these 3 pages come from? Is there someone in this? We have your family. If you don't make a video about My Hero Academia in the next week, we will kill them? Oh god. I'll be honest, I disagree with many of the choices made in the creation of My Hero Academia. There are a lot of inconsistencies, and I don't think I would have taken the story in the direction it's going now. Don't get me wrong, My Hero Academia is overall fantastic, but like with everything, it's not perfect. And I'm sure everyone has their own list of criticisms for the show. But you can take Shigaraki Tomura as a bad villain right off that shit. Now, I like to consider myself as somewhat of a character sommelier. You know, I'm not saying my taste is better than yours, but let's just say you like simple characters. I'm more about the well-nuanced, well-written, dynamic characters. You're gargling strawberry Kool-Aid, while me, I'm pleasantly sipping on a Chateau Lefty 1865. It's a fucking lie, I love Kool-Aid. Now, where I was going with that horrible joke is, being someone who enjoys good characters, villains often always end up being the ones I think about the most. You can think of any conflict within media as a conflict of ideas. And while we are meant to sympathize and agree with our hero, the villain is supposed to be the challenger of our beliefs. A good villain forces you to reflect and thus gain a wider and more complex outlook. Even if a villain's motives are completely abhorrent and wrong, they can still bring up a lot of interesting questions. And although there are a whole host of criteria for measuring the quality of a good villain, one of the most important is, how does this villain challenge the status quo? Now let me preface this by saying, Shigaraki isn't a great villain. He's definitely not a bad villain, but he certainly doesn't deserve a 30-minute video, or even a place in anyone's favorite characters list. That being said, in the context of My Hero Academia, he brings up a lot of interesting questions. And if we're really going to understand Shigaraki, I think it would be good to first take a look at why people think he's such a bad villain. The criticism surrounding Shigaraki's character mostly boils down to the fact that he's kind of just a wet blanket. His personality is non-existent, which granted is still true, but the second most damning thing about Shigaraki is that he has no solid motivation or purpose. Stain, for instance, is for the most part beloved by the same people that hate Shigaraki, because he's basically just a walking motivational poster. He has strong beliefs and goals that for the most part the average viewer can understand and sympathize with. Shigaraki doesn't have any of that. He seems to be just doing evil for the sake of evil and nothing more. Every action he takes has a very surface level reason that usually just boils down to he felt like it. I mean, what there is of his personality is just the fact that he's basically a child in a man's body. Everything is a game to him, and all of that is right on the mark. But there are layers to this philosophy that I think elevate him within the context of My Hero Academia. It's a consequence of where Kohei Horikoshi took this character and is going with him. My Hero Academia is a story about values. Cultural values that create a sort of social cohesion in which everyone acts in response to. Whether it be heroism or plus ultra. Those of you who have watched this exemplary video by Pause and Select may know where I'm going with this. Although I will avoid using the term meta-narrative, mostly because I don't think the idea of peace in My Hero Academia is all-encompassing enough to be called a meta-narrative. I'll be using the term cultural value because in the case of my discussion on Shigaraki, the idea itself doesn't matter. What matters is people's willingness to believe and find meaning in said idea. Most of My Hero Academia's main cast acts in the name of a value they stake everything on. Each character is aspiring for an ideal, whether it be heroism or plus ultra. And these ideas can be considered subsets of the ultimate cultural value within My Hero Academia's world. Peace, or the symbol of peace. Peace in My Hero Academia's world is a driving cultural value. It creates an atmosphere of gleb optimism and defines many of the characters within the story. Midoriya and Todoroki were inspired to become heroes and help people because of All Might. Bakugo gained his prideful attitude from All Might. Stain's philosophy was inspired by All Might. All Might and Izuku, both despite how being a hero affects them physically, forego that in the name of upholding peace. It is then no coincidence that these are the characters Shigaraki hates above all else. The fact Shigaraki lacks a meaningful purpose is completely by design. Shigaraki is a nihilistic villain. If you believe nothing matters, then the whole idea of purpose gets blown out the window. And here's where a lot of people's hatred for this character steps in. If you're going to really understand Shigaraki, you're going to have to leave some baggage behind. For instance, the common criticism of Shigaraki is that he's doing evil for the sake of evil. I don't want to sound like a condescending douchebag who thinks he's better than you. I am, though. You're assuming Shigaraki believes in evil. This, of course, seems absolutely ludicrous for any well-adjusted member of society, but in the end, evil is just a concept. It isn't actually tangible. Shigaraki believes and maybe only is able to understand in the realm of concretes, like feelings. But this still leaves a lot to be desired. What are the root causes of these feelings? Well, if we string together all of his actions and thoughts from the anime, a picture begins to form. A picture it is clear that Shigaraki isn't even aware of. From that, we can finally answer the question, how does Shigaraki challenge the status quo? There are two crucially important lines of dialogue that change Shigaraki from especially spooky Hot Topic employee to actual okay villain. I'll play them, but first, a moment of silence for my ability to put ads on this video.
大多数の人間は対岸の火事と、いや、そうとすら思っちゃいないさ。どこで誰がどういう思いで人を殺そうが、こいつらはヘラヘラ笑って生きてるさ。なんで笑って群れている？法やルールってのは詰まるところ、個々人のモラルが前提だ。するわけねえと思い込んでんのさ。
There are a lot packed into these lines. There's so many avenues someone could take with this. But the most prominent and I think the most interesting question is, in the face of a world with no objective morality, should people be morally optimistic or morally skeptical? Now, it is obvious that the peace All Might brings isn't actual peace per se, but an overall sense of optimism that reassures the public that good will prevail, that the heroes will always save those in need. That is the meaning behind his catchphrase, I am here. We know this isn't the case. Sometimes evil does prevail and someone isn't saved. All Might even admits this. And from a meta level, this is a story about conflict, so evil has to prevail at some point. Shigaraki presumably was one of those who wasn't saved, which is why he has such a cynical outlook on peace and heroism. A cynical outlook that is at odds with a society that pushes a narrative of peace. Heroes are turned into celebrities. Up-and-coming heroes compete for the entertainment of the world. Take for example the news attention after the capture of Stain. Overnight, all of Shigaraki's accomplishments were overshadowed. The news had two stories they could report on. On one hand, you had a tragedy that caused injury and death to many, wherein the culprit escaped. And on the other hand, you have the story of the evil hero killer Stain getting captured. The public and media decided to focus on the latter, because it continued to propel this narrative of peace. Viewing it in this way, Shigaraki's annoyance at how the news covered this attack makes a lot more sense. But what really annoys Shigaraki is that people thoughtlessly believe in peace. They smile and go about their days without even considering that anything bad could happen. As Shigaraki said, it would only take one person with an especially powerful quirk to lose it and wreak some havoc. But everyone just assumes that there's no possibility that that could ever happen. Now, the incident in the mall was a slightly forgivable situation in my eyes. A better example would come in the second episode of the first season, while Bakugo is taken hostage by the sludge villain. The language and the behavior exhibited by the public around the incident was actually kind of chilling. They did not respond by getting as far away from the incident as possible, or even trying to help in any way they can. What they did was congregate around and watch as if this was some sort of spectacle. The language they used seemed like it never crossed their minds that a child could die right there, right then, before their eyes. I mean, in a way that's admirably optimistic, but in another way it's kind of fucked. In fact, let me put myself in their shoes. I don't know, maybe? I don't think that's what we should be discussing right now, Chad. In fact, how about we all get out of the way so we don't obstruct law enforcement? No? Okay. What the fuck, John? A child is being mouth-raped to death by a sentient pile of sludge. What about this isn't already the worst it could possibly be? This is fucking DEFCON 1. Anyway? Anyway? What kind of nonchalant fucking tone is that? This child's about to die right before my eyes. But in other news, I got the promotion at work today. Have some fucking urgency, you ingrate. Excuse me everyone, I'd like to apologize for the harsh words I just used. It's come to my attention that this is actually the sub version. You guys can't actually understand what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm lost, alright, I'll just call for directions. Yeah, hey, explanation point? Yeah, I must have taken a turn on actual good voice acting, and ended up in the actual good version of My Hero Academia. In the face of a world without any objective values or morals, should we create our own and uphold them with an optimistic vigor, even if they aren't always true? Or do we give in to our hedonistic desires and embrace nihilism? This is the divide between Shigaraki Tomura and Izuku Midoriya. As to which perspective is right, I think nihilism is pretty indefensible, but I can't say objectively. Everybody has their right to choose. It's obvious Shigaraki's the villain of the series, but I hoped in this video to break down the simple divide that is on the surface, and bring it down to its roots. Now, although I just made it sound like I was some sort of pseudo-intellectual, I'm neglecting a very important aspect of any good villain. Is he cool? No, that costume sucks ass, his powers are kinda cool, but in comparison to other quirks, it's sort of lacking, and his personality isn't endearing in the slightest. So is Shigaraki a good villain? Yeah, but just barely. Hey guys, it's me, the guy who said he'd upload weekly and then didn't upload another video for the next 4 months. So I'm here with another announcement. I'm gonna be uploading weekly! So I'll see you in my next weekly video in 3 months. Yeah, but I'm gonna try to upload more frequently, but don't hold me to any schedule. I'm gonna be trying to do it weekly, but that didn't work out very well the last time. And as for what I'm gonna be uploading, I'm just gonna be throwing a bunch of shit at the wall. I mean, I tried doing a half comedy, half actual analysis here, and it just ended up being shit both. Shit both ways, just a double shitter. So maybe I'll just separate the two, make some videos that are purely for comedic purposes, and then some videos that are purely for analytical purposes. Yeah, but I'm gonna broaden my horizons. I'm gonna try a bunch of different shit, and whatever works, works. Alright. I'll see you in 6 years.